Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at all things decimals, except conversions, but otherwise all things decimals. So first things first, let's look at how you can order decimals. So if we look at 2, for example, 2.15 and 2.5, which is greater? Okay. Well, there are a couple of ways that we can figure this out. One way is to put them in their place values. What do I mean by that? We can write our units. We can write our units, tenths, and hundredths with our decimal point. So we would have 2.15 and 2.5 and then add our 0. Now, if you're wondering, where this 0 came from, it's like when we talk about money, we don't say something is £2.5, it's £2.50, right? It's the same number, 2.5 and 2.50, but we can add this 0 in and it makes no difference to the actual quantity of that value. Okay, so we can add in this 0 here so we have the equal number of digits in our place values. Okay, so if we have our numbers written like this, well, what we would do is, starting from the units column, we would look, okay, which one is greater? In this case, both are 2, so that's not really helpful. So then we move on to our tenths column. Which is greater? 1 or 5? Pretty clear. 5 is bigger. Therefore, we can say that 2.5 is greater than 2.15. Okay. The other way we could have done this is, well, we could make both of them into whole numbers by multiplying each by 100. Why by 100? Because the 0.15 goes into the hundredths column. So we know that we multiply by 100 to bring the 5 to the units column. Okay. So instead we could work with 215 or 250. And we know that 250 is greater than 215. Therefore, 2.5 has to be greater than 2.15 because we'd go backwards here and divide by 100 again. Okay. So those are kind of the two ways you can figure out which decimal number is bigger. Okay. So let's look at an example together. If we have this list of decimals, we want to order them from the smallest to the largest. Okay. So we have 3.72, 3.07, 3.7, 4.3, and 3.764. Okay. If you want to already, please pause the video and try and put it in order of smallest to largest. But if you're still unsure about what we spoke about earlier, then please, continue watching and follow along with me. So I'm going to solve this in both ways, right? So my first way will be to use the place value system. So the max I have here is thousands. So I will just write units. I will just write units, tenths, hundredths, thousands. And then I'll pop in my numbers underneath this. Adding in my place holder zeros. So what I will do from here is I will try and identify, can I see the smallest or largest in each column starting with the units column, right? So in this case, in the units column, I can see very clearly that my largest number here is a 4. And therefore, I can cross this out and easily identify that my largest number, is going to be 4.3. Okay. The rest are all threes in the units column. So, you know, I'm pretty much finished my work here. I can now move on to my tenths column. Now we have 3 that are 7. This doesn't really help, but we do have one that is 0. Okay. And that helps us identify the smallest number. 3.07. Okay. Then we're finished with this column. Moving on to our hundredths now. We can see the largest number is 6 and the smallest number is 0. Okay. So that means the largest one is going to be the next. It's going to be the one before the largest. So we've already found 4.3. So we know this is going to be 3.7. Okay, and I'm just going to cross that out. Oh, no, sorry, wrong one. 3.7664 rather. So we can cross this out. And then the one that contains 0, well, we know that's if that's the smallest, then it's going to be the second smallest of all our numbers. So we can cross this out. Therefore, leaving us with this number here in the middle. 7.2. Okay. Now, if we want to verify this, we can do the same thing, but with whole numbers, right? So let's make this, because we know our, it's it's in the thousandths column. Our digit to the most right is the thousandths column. We'll multiply all of our numbers by 1,000. So we're going to have 3.72, sorry, not 3 point. We're going to have 3,000, sorry. 3,720. 3,070. 3,700. 4,300. And 3,764. Okay. Now, if we were to put these in order, it will be a lot easier, as we're used to working with whole numbers. Again, can easily identify, this is my largest, put this at the bottom, 4,300. And then can easily identify that this is going to be my smallest. So I'm going to put 3,070 at the top. Okay. And then it's a matter of just rearranging the middle ones. So I can see next I will have 3,700, 3,720, and then 3,764. Okay. Now we can then divide by 1,000. So take the whole thing and divide by 1,000. And we should get the same as what we got before. So we should get 3.07, 3.7, 3.72, 3.764, and 4.3. Is this the case? Do we have a perfect match? Yes, we do. So we know our answer is correct. Okay. If you're comfortable with both, you can use this technique in an exam to double check your answers. But if you're only more confident in one, that's perfectly fine. You can just use that one to help you answer your questions. Okay. Now, moving on, we're going to look at adding and subtracting decimals. Okay. We do this in exactly the same way as we do whole numbers. All right. So just going to do one example of each. If we take 3.6 plus 14.73, you can choose how you write this. Personally, especially with whole numbers, I would always go for the number with greater digits first. So I would write it this way round. and add my placeholder, just because I feel like it looks visually better and I'm just able to work with it a lot more easily. But you can actually write 3.6 and then add 14.73 and then add 0 and 0 here. And that is perfectly fine as well. Okay. But for me personally, I prefer the first way, so I'm going to stick to that. All right. And then I'm just going to add these up. So we get 3, 7 plus 6 is 13. Carry the 1. 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 1 is 8. 18.33. Okay. Now, obviously, with subtraction, you can't just pick the order in which you write it. So if we have 4 minus 2.3, you can do the same thing. So just write 4 minus 2.3 and then add in your 0 afterwards. Okay. And then we're going to calculate as you would with whole numbers. So I'm going to carry 1. 10 minus 3 is 7. 3 minus 2 is 1. Add in my decimal, I've got 1.7. Okay. Great. Then we're going to move on to multiply and divide. Okay. And again, it's not too different from how you work with whole numbers. So if we look at an example, let's take 3.72 times 2.3. So in contrast to what we did at the beginning, what we would do is multiply only to make each of the decimals a whole number, which means in this side, we're going to multiply by 100 because we have up to the hundredths column. And this time, we're only going to multiply this side, we'll also multiply by 10 because we only have it in the tenths column. So we can have 372 multiplied by 23. Okay. And then we can just calculate this as normal as we do with whole numbers. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2 is 11. 3 times 2 is 4. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So we've got 6, 5, 5, and 8. Okay. So 372 times 23 equals 8,556. Now, how do we figure out what 3.72 times 2.3 is? Well, there's a neat trick for this. We look at the number of digits after the decimal place in total in our question. So we have 1, 2, and 3, which means we should have 3 decimal places in our answer. So starting from the right, 1, 2, 3, I can decipher that 3.72 times 2.3 is going to equal 8.556. Okay. Let's look at another question just for clarity, and then I will allow you to do one by yourself and you can double check. Okay. So if we look at 5.2 times 8 together, what we can do here is, well, 8 is already a whole number, and I can just make 5.2 52 by multiplying by 10, right? So then I can say 52 multiplied by 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 1 on top. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 1 is 41. All right. Therefore, I can say 52 times 8 is 416. I only have one digit after the decimal place in my question. So therefore, 5.2 times 8 is 41.6. Okay. Give this question a go on your own. Pause the video here and come back and see the answer. And if you can't work it out, not to worry, we will go through it together. Okay, so in this case, we will just do 34 times 55. So we'll do 5 times 4, which is 20. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. 5 times 4 again is 20. 5 times 3 again is 15, plus 2 is 17. 7, 8, 1, 8, 7, 0. Therefore, 3.4 times 5.5 is going to equal 18.7. Okay, great. If you're having any issues with the multiplication, then please go back to how to multiply whole numbers before trying to do this with the decimals. Okay, moving on to the division question now. If we had 4.14 divided by 3, this time we don't need to do what we did with multiplication in terms of creating whole numbers. We can actually just work directly with the decimals, okay? I personally prefer long division. If you prefer short division, you can use that. You will definitely get the same answer. So please don't be confused by long division if you're not comfortable with that. Okay. So if we put 4.14 divided by 3, well, 3 goes into 4 once. 3 times 1 is 3. Subtract that. 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring down 1, get 11. I'm going to put my decimal place there. 3 into 11 goes 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to subtract 11 minus 9, which is 2. Bring down the 4. 3 into 24 goes 8 times. So 3 times 8 is 24. Get 0. Therefore, 4.14 divided by 3 is 1.38. Okay? Now, if we look at a different example of 18.9 divided by 0.09, I actually want you to attempt this on your own because you should kind of know what to do here already based on some of the other things that we've looked at. So yes, please pause here, have a go, and then come back and check together. So I hope you all had a try at this question and maybe even managed to solve it. But if you didn't, then it's perfectly fine. So we're going to rewrite this as 18.9 over 0.09. And from here, we can see that we can easily convert both of them to whole numbers. And the easiest thing we can do is to make the denominator into 9. So to do this, we just need to identify where the 9 is in this case, and it's in the hundredths column. So we know we're going to multiply by 100. Whatever we do to the bottom, we also have to do to the top, right? So now we have 1,890 divided by 9, which looks a whole lot better to work with. So we're going to go ahead and solve this. So 1,890 divided by 9. 9 goes into 1 0 times, but 9 goes into 18 twice. 2 times 9 is 18. Subtract those. So we have 0, bring down 9, goes into 9 once. 9 times 1 is 9. So subtract those. We have 0 again, bring down the 0. 9 into 0 goes 0 times. And so we've solved our question. Now, because we've multiplied the top and the bottom by the same amount, we don't need to divide by anything. We have solved our whole question. So 18.9 divided by 0.09 is 210. Okay. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.